Hello and welcome to a Dreamer edition of Between Two Ferns. My name is Brittany Lewis. Today we have two professional staff members here with us to talk about your first internship to your first job and everything in between. So if you guys want to introduce yourselves?
Sure, my name is Kim-Trang Blair and I am the HR and Compliance Director here at Dream Careers.
And my name is Hemant Patel and I'm the Director of Employee Relations here at Dream Careers.
Great, so we're going to get started. We're going to jump right into it. So I guess the first question would be, if you could give one piece of advice for success at an internship, what would it be?
I would say that you want to get to know everyone you possibly can, whether it is the person in the mailroom that's been there for 15 years or the CEO. Do whatever you can to really try and get to know everybody.
Okay, so the second question would be, what if you realize your internship is not for you?
Go ahead, Ham.
Oh, thank you, Kim. Well, if this was my internship, if it wasn't, I worked at it wasn't, excellent. At last I found out something useful.
And why is that useful?
Because I won't do it again.
Good point. So the next question is, if at your internship you're only getting administrative tasks like running errands, data, spreadsheets, like stuff like that, what should you do? How should you address that?
Well, Brittany, before we answer that question, can you go grab me a coffee really fast? Is that
Diet Coke.
Diet Coke, we want a straw, and
And
ice.
slice of lemon.
And then, can you pick up my son from daycare at 5?
Absolutely.
Great, awesome. What was the question?
So, if I don't want to pick up your son at daycare or want to get you Diet Coke with lemon, how do I address that?
Well, why not?
It's from an interview.
I would say that you should set up a meeting with your manager and talk to them directly on how you were hoping to get more tasks related to the job and the professional industry that you're hoping to get your experience in. I think that that's going to be something that your manager is going to respect, is just having a direct conversation.
May I ask, is this the first time you've been asked to do this, or has it happened a few times before?
No, I would say it's a more consistent thing.
I would firstly say, I've been doing this and I've obviously been very successful because you've kept on asking me to do this. But, this is an internship where I came to gain, on a high professional experience. So is it possible we could sit down, like Kim has just mentioned? You should actually try to get a one-to-one time with your manager and just actually speak through the heart and be professional about it.
Great. So, he agrees.
Pistachio sometimes acts out a little bit, so
It's okay.
that's the dog's
Can I pet him? Is he biting?
No.
He's a little feisty. So, at an internship, we know that sometimes there's just a lot of interns. So how do you stand out amongst the rest?
I would say do things, even if it just seems the same task, like filing. I don't even know if people file anymore, but find a way to do it in a way that someone has never done it before. Do it faster, efficient, whatever it may be, but whatever the menial task may be, or even if it's not menial, find a way where you're doing it in a better way that no one's ever done it before, if that makes sense.
So Hemant, is texting on the job, is that a way to stand out at your internship?
Sorry, were you saying something?
So, how do you stand out amongst all the other interns?
Well, I like to sleep, like to daydream about being on the golf course. I also like to play golf on my phone, a lot more than the other interns. I think that stands out a lot more than anything else to get noticed. That's worked for me kind of quite well so far.
Great, and yet you still have a job.
Well, yeah.
Not for long.
No, on a serious note, I've said to people that there's something called the purple cow, and I'd like to take this moment to explain what it means to me. Is that the days when you travel down the interstate, you see all this green area here, you see all these cows all the time. Just imagine one day you saw a purple cow in the middle of the field. You know, for the rest of your life, you'll always remember that purple cow. So what I will say to an intern is, do the same. Become that purple cow in the workplace. Do things that stand out, and you will never be forgotten by the employer.
I like that metaphor.
Well, thank you. I like playing golf.
So, when looking for a career, what do you think the most important thing young adults should look for is?
When looking for a career, I will say passion and heart. You put those two together, the actual working 60 hours a week just come naturally, and you're having fun doing what you really want to do. You know, and be honest to yourself.
I think it's kind of adding off of what Ham's already said is your career, whatever it may be, shouldn't feel like a job that you check into Monday through Friday or even beyond if you know you have to work overtime. It needs to be a career that you absolutely love, that you enjoy doing, and it doesn't feel like a job. And I think that a lot of it has to do with the career and what you're doing day to day, but a lot of it also has to do with the people that you're working with and for, is believing in them and also feeling good about, you know, working with people that you trust and enjoy spending significant time with.
On that note, can I ask, do you think a salary plays a big part?
That was actually the perfect segue into my next question.
Well, you know what I'm like. I can read minds.
So, you guys were just mentioning how you want to be passionate about your job and things like that. You really want to love it, but how do you, what line do you walk between wanting to follow and pursue your dreams and passions to having to pay your bills and student loans and things like that?
That's a great question. I think you got to be realistic too. There's a lot of careers you're going to need to put your dues in. There's no one, unless they are, you know, the owner and founder of Facebook. There's no one that has that kind of luck, or at least 99.9% of people don't have that type of luck where right out of college, or if they drop out of college, they are all of a sudden making billions of dollars right off the bat. 99.9% of people don't, and they need to put in their dues into their career. And I think that with student loans and things like that, you want to make sure that you want to be realistic and make sure that you are putting in your dues. You can't go in expecting, hey, I'm going to be a high roller right off the bat. You need to build up to the point where you will make that money, but also not be afraid to ask for help from parents if you're in that situation, or, you know, suck it up and you keep E&J for a while, or, you know, live in a 2-bedroom apartment in New York City with 3 other people, whatever it may be. Sometimes you need to make those sacrifices in order to really test your dreams and your passions.
I have to agree on the sacrifice side. I've lived by the way where when you're going through life, there's stages. As a baby, you're just eating and being a baby. Then you go into childhood, then you're just going to school, educating yourself, and that goes all the way through to 20. And then you go into like full-time employment. Your dues are to basically become an expert of what your passion is and what you want to go into your career. And you shouldn't be obscured by the fact of, oh, I need to make money. And that isn't exactly what we should be focusing on. We should be focusing on becoming a superb professional. And by becoming that, the funds will actually automatically come to you. You've got to have faith. And it does happen. And that's why I would say go follow those terms.
Sorry.
Pistachio
agrees.
Well, great. Thank you, Pistachio. So to even get hired in your dream career, your dream job, what can you do to stand out?
I mean, there's so many things you can do in an interview. You know, some people get really stressed out and they just can't be themselves. Some people, you know, are excellent at interviews. It's different strokes. But things you could do I mean, Kim, what do you think?
I mean, I interview people for a living, so I've seen and been in horrible interviews and really great ones. And I'd say that things that make people stand out to me, you would be surprised, is just making sure that you're building chemistry with the interviewer. That is so important. Beyond the questions that are being asked, beyond the answers that you're giving to the interviewer, you need to make sure that there's chemistry there. If there's no chemistry there, they're not going to feel it, and you're not going to be memorable. In other ways too, there are so many times where I've done interviews with people, and within, I'd say, a minute, I know whether or not this is a candidate I'm going to continue on to the next round. A lot of it has to do with chemistry. A lot of it has to do with how well-spoken an individual is, and whether or not they're actually answering my questions. You'd be surprised how many people I throw out a question and then people have such a script written in their head of what they're going to say, and I ask a follow-up question and people don't know how to address it. Other ways too that I have found really helpful for people to stand out is come prepared. Research the job you're actually applying for with that particular company. Because sometimes people get into this role of, I'm just going to apply to 30 different jobs, and then someone calls them back, hey, and someone calls them back, and we will interview that person, and they completely forgot the job that they're interviewing for. And I know right off the bat that they've applied, this is one of 30 plus jobs they've applied for. Some questions that I have been asked after the interview is done by candidates that totally stand out and have kind of taken me back in my seat a little bit is a question that people have asked is, do you have any reservations about me as a candidate? And how can I help with that? And that individual will tell me, or will ask me that question. I'll give them a couple of reservations if I have any, if I feel comfortable with them. And then they come back with, oh, I understand that reservation. Let me tell you why this isn't really a reservation that you should have. So those are those types of questions where you are asking a question, but also showing that you are willing to hear constructive feedback is huge. Other questions I've heard is, what are you looking for in an ideal candidate, and do you think I fit that role? Just being super direct. They're scary questions to ask, but they make such an impression on the interviewer.
Definitely want to take note of that as I'm applying for the real world here. So, I guess kind of moving on, let's say your dream career ends you up in a different city. How do you adapt to moving to a new city? I know, Hemant, you're a little bit, you've flew over the pond here to get to America, so can you kind of give us some insight?
On how to adapt? I think one of the most important things is you don't take things personally, because you're going to get pushed, pulled, stumbled upon, congratulated. You're going to go through emotions beyond all. But you've got to be a little bit thick-skinned and just step out your own zone sometimes and look at yourself, focus on what's going on around you, and study yourself, and then you get to learn about yourself and your surroundings. A city like New York, I've been here now 10, 11 years, what else I don't know, and it can swallow you up. There's been moments where I think, I can't do this is just too much. But then the better side of you comes out and you battle through it, and you must battle through it because you want to be a champion, you want to win, you want to be successful. And I think that's the way. Focus on yourself. It's okay to look at yourself and say, I did this right and I did that wrong. But if you did something wrong or could have done it better, try to work out and ask people. Make friends, and take time out and study and enjoy where you are as well, because that makes a big difference.
I think I've done the move as well from Virginia to California for the job, and I think that you as an individual, if that opportunity is presented to you, you need to be realistic with yourself on whether or not you are ready for a move away. Either it's to a brand new city that you've never been to or to a city that you're familiar with. You need to be realistic with yourself on where you're at in your life and whether or not you're ready to make that jump. As an intern, and if you're fresh out of college, I would say do it, because that is the time where you can be selfish for yourself, just like Kim said, and then you're building your career right now. To show that you have worked in different locations on your resume is only making your resume look better, and it differentiates you versus someone that's only been in one location the entire time of their resume. And then once you move to a location, whether it's a familiar city or someplace you've never been to, you need to allow yourself at least 6 months to really adapt to the city. There's going to be times where people are going to be really homesick. There's going to be times where people just, the city might, whether it's New York City or another location, where it's going to chew you right up and spit you right out. You need to give a city a realistic time frame of 6 months to really adapt to whether or not you can make it. You can't just say, this first month was rough, I went out, and I went out now. You gotta give it time.
Yeah, don't be a coward. Don't be, because the best thing is once you go past that hurdle, you've gone over it, whichever way, you go under it, around it, over it, break it down, I don't really care. But once you succeed, you look back saying, I did that. And that feeling by itself will progress you and can propel you to another level. You're always going to have these hurdles wherever you go. Now, making a move from one city to another or another continent, it's the same thing. You're going to have those hurdles. And each time you do a change or a move, it just gives you more ammunition to take the next project on.
Great, and kind of to wrap up, you guys have given us such great advice on everything from moving to your first internship and all that stuff, but what do you think the biggest piece of advice you could give in like 140 characters or less to young adults starting their career search? So if you could tweet a piece of advice, what would it be?
I would say just keep on trying. Don't be scared, keep on trying. If you fail, continue. It's not a problem. The biggest fear is success. And once you do have a little bit of success, more will follow.
That's definitely more than 100.
I'll take the last word out then.
That was like a tweet and then a footnote, but I appreciate the effort. Long footnote.
I thought one of you was counting.
I was trying, and then you just started talking too fast.
Characters include letters and spaces. Yeah.
And punctuation.
So
that was just a really long run-on sentence with no space.
Right.
And so, still go over, but continue.
Okay.
I would say
that's enough.
Don't jump to the end of the journey. Enjoy the journey. That's the best part.
So thank you, Hemant's Golf Club, Kim and Pistachio, very much for joining us today for another edition of Dreamer's version of Between Two Ferns. I'm Brittany. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.